Hello again and welcome back to another one. And today we have a couple of topics to cover, from one centered on the drama after Drake took legal action against UMG over claims of artificially boosting Not Like Us and the defamatory content it pushes. And to be honest, we got Drake's unofficial speaker legitimately concerned for Drake at this point. Suffice to say, Akademiks was spitting during his analysis of what this could mean for Drake moving forward, and he brought up examples like what happened to 50 Cent. More on this later. And speaking on Kendrick, we got Joe Budden going off on Ice Cube that shocked users on the web, so much so that you may have to conclude that Akademiks is to Drake what Joe Budden is to Kendrick Lamar at this point, and he could have legitimately started a beef when word about this gets to Ice Cube for real. And today we have more that's come from Eminem's latest appearance on Netflix's series Rhythm Plus Flow, as it looks like there's a history that King Crook believes was ignored when they decided to appear on that show. And Crook believes they all knew, apart from maybe Eminem, and we'll expand on this later. And today we have more that's come from the DOC's recent comments about Eminem that led to an interesting exchange online, since you know, giving Eminem any form of credit is forbidden when it comes to a certain segment of fans who identify as quote hip-hop heads. And the DOC had to step in to check these lunatics, and starting with the latest on Kendrick Lamar's GNX album, new projections are in. Update: Kendrick Lamar's GNX is now expected to debut with an increased 365 to 385 million on-demand streams in the United States first week, 310 to 325,000 total units, 230 to 260,000 streaming equivalent album units, 30,000 pure sales. And boy, Akademiks is losing his mind over this, as he is convinced the Drake lawsuits ended up boosting Kendrick's album. Check out a snippet.
I'm gonna holler at Drake, bro. I ain't gonna hold you, bro. That lawsuit was just worst timing. Bruh! Kendrick now expected to sell 325. Look, just off of that, Kendrick jumped from 291 projected to 325. Yo, Drake, you better give that invoice. Drake drops the lawsuit, promotes the out of everything Kendrick got going on, because now it's Kendrick. This thing is now about to sell 325. God damn it. What the Yo, I gotta tease Drake what I do when I don't like and they're dropping. Yo, when Meek was dropping, yo, I couldn't say a word. I couldn't say a tweet. I was acting like I don't see nothing going on.
And just so you know, Not Like Us has received a significant boost after the lawsuits. Check this out. Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us is aiming for roughly 40% increase in the United States sales and 20% increase in US streams this week. So Akademiks may have a case about Drake pretty much giving Kendrick additional promo this week. And if you recall, when Rick Ross tried to start ish with 50 Cent, when he dropped his collab album with Meek Mill, 50 Cent literally waited for the official numbers to come in from Billboard, and it was only after when the numbers were official that 50 Cent decided to fire back at Rick Ross, and yes, the album flopped. And boy, Drake is in bad shape right now, as we even got the face of his Her Loss album out here enjoying Kendrick's GNX publicly, and she was even called out and she reacted. Check out a snippet.
Suki, you are the face of Drizzy's album. Yeah, Drizzy fans. Let me tell you something about music, dog. This album has nothing. How should I articulate this? This album that Kendrick put out, this is for the world. Like, we could go 2-3 songs back, and it's like, he not even talking about bro. He's at this point in his life where he's like on some like a lot of us, where you have a threshold of how much you let people play with you, and like, this is just his way of putting out to the world, nobody is playing with me. It's not just directed at him. We love a good rap battle. We love, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We haven't seen something like that in a very long time, especially because traditionalism is not a thing anymore.
And the way Drake's been moving, you could call it a crash out at this point, going after UMG like this. And even Drake's unofficial speaker is concerned for the rapper at this point, as he pointed out history of disrupting careers from 50 Cent to Kanye. Check out a snippet.
If Drake wins here, music is forever changed. Because now, once music gets to a certain level, once you get to a mid-tier artist, you know what they're gonna institute? We gotta review your music for factuality. Well, we need to have, before you could say that, I sound good on the record, but we need to be able to prove it, because if they come back around and sue us for defamation or sue us for whatever, we're gonna have to pay out, because we had to pay Drake because Kendrick lied that he was a pedophile and he's not a pedophile, and we had to pay Drake $2 billion. So now we got to police him. The music industry was changed. So it's either completely changes or they treat Drake like they treat everybody else. Yo, we're gonna violate you in court. And then not only we're going, and this is what, you know, I'm hoping at some point, whether to me or somebody, Drake kind of explains this, because I don't think only violating him in court is what UMG's response gonna be. You gotta remember, they always said back in the days of the knights and all that type of stuff, when people had castles, when somebody tried to invade your spot, after you defeat them in war, you cut their head off and you put it on a stake outside of the palace. You know why? You got to send a message to everybody else. Don't come up in this. This is what happens. So Universal got to send a message to Drake. We got to make an example out of you. And by the way, Universal have been making examples out of for a long time. They made an example out of Kanye. They made an example out of 50 Cent. Put it like this. 50 was the hottest thing smoking from 2002, 2003 to 2005. And in 2005, 2006, the moment he went against Jimmy Iovine, and not necessarily even, he didn't even touch Lucian. He didn't even get to Lucian. He got to one of the who was on the list below Lucian. At that point, they said, I hope you got some movie scripts because you're done here. 50 was completely obliterated. They crowned Kanye the new winner. You can't f with Universal, bro. Who's done it and won? Except Taylor. That's why I keep saying it's a Taylor Swift moment. Who's done it? Universal owns all these companies. Remember when Kanye was like, yo, they won't let me buy, when he showed the contract? Granted, he's still selling 120K without that. But then he spiraled all the way. Then they just dropped him with cause. But he ain't never went at Universal, like the parent company. His fight was with Def Jam. They bodied the shit out of Kanye. Kick that nigga out of here. Get out of here. Go sell some sneakers. Get out of here. Go to Japan. So that's why I'm looking at the Drake thing and I'm like, holy shit. Yo, 50 got f***ed up by going at Jimmy Iovine. The game got f***ed up by even breathing hard at Jimmy Iovine. And that's Interscope. How the f*** y'all expect to go at big boss, top dog Lucian? Y'all can't f*** with him. He gonna have y'all being played in Botswana. Y'all niggas can't f*** with. Now, granted, it appears that Drake look like he's down to take on the fight. Here's my biggest problem with that. Remember, as I said, timing. Everybody's reading this as you versus Kendrick.
Although he's still more optimistic about Drake's career moving forward, as he expanded on if Drake is gonna get jaw ruled by Kendrick.
And ironically, it times with this whole Kendrick, because if not, they're going to cremate that. And again, I love his music too much to not see that popping. And I still think, as I said, there's a long way to fall for him. But put it like this, you know, Ja Rule went from being one of the most lit to irrelevant. You'll never get Drake to irrelevant. But I think when it comes to Universal, their thing might be like, we'll get Superman to bleed. We ain't gonna get that nigga to go irrelevant, but we'll get him to bleed. Yeah, Future sell 200, he sell 200. No more 400, buddy. No more 500. You'll never sniff a milli again. I think that's how they're probably looking at it, right? Somebody did ask me, they said, why doesn't Drake go independent? That independent shit sound good, but y'all really have no idea how much these labels control. They control market share. And here's my prediction too. If Drake ever went independent, I think Drake would be able to sell how much? I think he'd be if Kanye did like 100 indie, which is real indie. I'm talking about real indie. Drake, real indie, does 200. Like what you see with Honestly Nevermind, that's what every project's gonna be. He would do Future numbers indie. Future would do like 70, like Future would do Meek numbers independent.
And personally, how I look at it, Akademiks thinking Drake would pull off 200,000 first week independent, maybe pushing it. And here's why. Kanye does so much better when it comes to pure album sales. Right now, even Vultures 2 moved 60.5 thousand pure sales first week. Drake, on the other hand, has had terrible pure sales records recently, and bear in mind that he's also going after DSPs like Spotify and the people in business with them, UMG. So if his streaming is cut off and his last studio album For All the Dogs did just 10,000 in pure sales. Personally, I believe he would be worse off than Kanye if he went fully independent. The DSPs are already against him, and he did 10,000 pure sales for his last studio album. And moving on, we got Joe Budden out here trying to start something, as he's convinced that Kendrick dropping on Ice Cube's release date isn't accidental, and that this could be over Ice Cube's lyrics on It's My Ego when he rapped I Was Kendrick before Kendrick. Check out a snippet.
He got a list of, and I listened to this with intent, trying to figure out who was on that list. I got a few names. It's some he couldn't really get to y'all respect, and he's a guy of culture, but he pissed at some of y'all. He dropped on the same day as Ice Cube. I think nothing is by accident. He addressed his displeasure with Snoop just in a very loving way. He did. So if you heard what Snoop said, then you heard what Ice Cube said about I'm whatever the he said from the stage about him being Kendrick from Kendrick that era before Kendrick. I was Kendrick before Kendrick,
which is true.
He says it on his album too. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world.
I think it's true.
I'm not here to do this with these today.
Don't be blasphemous. Don't be blasphemous.
Yo, don't step on my spotlight. Not me, but if I'm Kendrick, mute it up. Mute it up. Who gives a what your opinion is? Shut the up. Solidarity time. Red and blue in the air. West Coast against all. Remember Detroit versus everybody? It's that times a million. With Detroit was able to say, all right, we won't go to Detroit.
I think with a lot of time though with Kendrick, Snoop gets the love, Drake gets the love. I think sometimes Cube feels boxed out of that. He feel like he don't get the mention when he put the West Coast on his back for a long time.
We don't give a
but he got a right to give a
Great. Tell the therapist. Don't get on a microphone. And again, I ain't spoke to nobody, but if his name could go in there, yeah, I think he gets it too. I think Kendrick is on some anybody could get it type. Anybody.
And boy, this got users wondering what's going on with Joe Budden. Joe Budden is being really weird lately. No reason to talk about Cube like this. And Ice Cube didn't even say anything to warrant that type of tone from Joe Budden. But he's so caught up in the vendetta against Drake, and since Kendrick helped him with it, he's 100% been glazing. To the point of talking in that tone about Ice Cube. And we got more on this. Someone tell Joe Budden to get that Drake hate out of his heart. He ain't thinking clearly. How are you gonna uplift Kendrick Lamar and talk like that about Ice Cube? Facepalm emoji. Perhaps I'm missing something, but do you guys think Ice Cube did anything for Joe Budden to talk that way about him? And this would be a sight to behold. The day Kendrick says anything about Jay-Z, all this talk Joe does will go out the window. And moving on, we got the DOC on the All the Smoke Productions podcast, and he briefly spoke about influencing Eminem. Check out a snippet.
Eminem is one of the greats in this music. You can't take that away from him.
Were you there when Dre first heard of Eminem?
I wasn't there when he first heard him, but he started working on 2001 record. And I went out there and he said, I want you to hear something. He played a song called I Just Don't Give a Fuck. And I was like, wow, this motherfucker's off the chain. He reminds me of that early music we was making because his subject matter is so throwed off.
Thanks.
He's like, look, well, let me show you a picture of him. Who is this white boy? And he looked more like an actor or some shit. He's like, that's him. I was like, wow. That motherfucker's off the chain.
Yeah. How does it make you feel, though, that he really looked up to you a lot, though?
Well, I was pretty good. Howard looked up to me, too. I take it as a blessing, you know, that God let me live long enough to understand I made an impact.
And believe it or not, this was enough for some users to get rattled. You know, those who will stop at nothing to minimize Em's impact. As we got this response that caught the DOC's attention, laughing emojis. All those folks praising Eminem, it is because Jimmy got them locked. They are not free, just like nobody talking ish about Jay anymore, cause Live Nation got him locked. 20 years ago, Jay was the favorite punching ball of hip-hop. Now everybody wants to praise him, laughing emojis, PR and NDA jobs. And to this, the DOC fired back with, nobody has me locked, I have no boss, and nobody pays me. You may have some who have to walk that path, but not me. But have you ever thought about why you go so hard to discredit a kid who's obviously pretty good. Nobody cares, bro, either way, if you ask me. And Dame Dash already answered that question. A question that they struggle to answer is pretty straightforward. If you ask me, the lengths some people go to take everything away from Em. And moving on to Em's latest appearance on Rhythm Plus Flow, we got an interesting discovery that we missed from King Crooked in the past, and this came to light when he was asked, "Good day to you. Would love to see you on Rhythm Plus Flow with the Slaughterhouse Gang, would be epic," to which King Crooked revealed, "I would never go to that show." And you might be wondering, the hell? Like why? And apparently Royce knows the reason and perhaps still decided to go on the show, since you know they fell out after the rise and fall of Slaughterhouse, although Eminem may not have known to this day. And we got a clip from King Crooked all the way from 2020 that broke this down and why he'd never go on the show.
Some people in this industry will smile in your face and then steal your ideas, steal your energy. Let me tell you how cold they are. You know the show Rhythm and Flow? They stole that concept from me. Not only did they hijack my idea, but they had the audacity to call my brother Royce to be on the show. And the further audacity to call me to be on the show. How you gonna steal something from me and then ask me to be a part of it so you can hide your wicked deeds in plain sight? Now, you know Royce, he didn't know that they stole the show from me when he agreed to do it. He had already filmed his part. It was ready to go before I even found out about the grand theft. I sat with some producers in Hollywood, right? Made them sign some non-disclosure agreements so I could protect the ideas I was about to share. And then I laid out my vision. Told them I want to do a show called One Shot, rap competition, go around the country, find the best rappers, and so on and so on. And then I told them exactly what would make my show different than any other music talent show on TV. They were sold, they loved it. Long story short, I ended up choosing BET as a home for One Shot. Now BET had their own producers, and I couldn't use the Hollywood guys I met with. The Hollywood guys said, "Oh, no problem, man, we understand." And then they took my whole idea to Netflix and said, "Look what we thought of." So I hit him with a lawsuit or whatever, you know, whatever. I ain't bitter. I knew it was snakes in the game when I jumped in, you know. The moral of the story, young artists, producers, content creators, research, find out the best ways to protect your ideas, because those ideas are worth millions of dollars. You don't just leave your money and debit cards sitting on your front porch at night before you go to sleep, do you?
And back to the discussion. When a user responded to Crooked, "Yeah, I have a problem with people who know it was your idea, but still work with the show. No principles or integrity." And King Crooked reacted with, "Only one that might not have known is Marshall. We never spoke about that, but I plan on seeing what's up." And of course, I don't expect Royce to care, since they fell out before this new season. And when a user added, "I know people often abandon their integrity for a bag, so this makes sense in his case that he didn't know," Crook added, "All the time, bro, and this is where he stands right now. It is all good. F Rhythm and Flow though, salute emoji." And I'll be looking forward to your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.